Welcome to James Quest, and today I just finished watching the first two episodes of The Acolytes, the much anticipated and, in some circles, much feared TV show. I have never seen one of these Star Wars TV shows just have so much, I don't know, vitriol targeted against it in its lead up. Like, you know, obviously we have certain circles that have always been really angry with Disney Star Wars, and they've hated the last dozen projects. So at this point, they're anticipating, I think is the term a lot of people are using now. They are, you know, they're going into these Disney Star Wars projects ready to hate things, and so big surprise, they were already willing to hate this show. But basically all to say that, like, yeah, this show has had a lot of both positive and negative attention towards it, all leading up to its release, to all the screenings that people had. Some people saw 2 episodes, some people saw 4. The reviews were coming out, some of them were really positive. There was a handful of really negative ones out there. You know, and then you kind of look into, okay, but these really negative ones, who is saying this? And then you look at the other stuff that they've posted on their social media, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is a person who kind of already decided that they hate Disney Star Wars, you know. So it's just, we're at this point in the Star Wars fandom where, like, if you are already rooting against what the franchise is at this point, you know, I don't think there's any project in the world that's gonna make you okay. But I think if you're still riding with Star Wars, like, you're gonna be very happy with this show, and I gotta say, I really am. And look, this is going into, you know, I went to this show kind of already knowing a lot of the, you know, little spoilers and leaks and rumors, and the trailers kind of just confirmed a lot of those. And so I was worried that they're going to drag out a lot of these, you know, supposed twists and turns of the story when a lot of us have already figured all this stuff out. Luckily, they don't. They kind of just, like, address this stuff within the first 2 episodes, and it's like, oh, okay, so, all right, so it's not much of a twist. They were gonna tell you immediately, kind of. So that's pretty cool. And I gotta say, the characters, the style of everything, it's got that right mix of, like, it feels like the prequels, but also it feels like, you know, depending on where we're at and who we're following, it kind of feels like a little bit of Solo is there, you know. It kind of feels a little bit like the sequel sometimes. It's got the right mixture of, like, you know, when we're at the Jedi Temple, it's like, oh, you could slap this right in the middle of Attack of the Clones, and I would believe it, you know. And then other times I'm like, okay, we got kind of a little bit of a goofy, funny energy going on here. This reminds me a lot of Solo and their crew in Solo. So it's just a lot of different Star Wars tones are working together here, and I feel like they got the right mixture, you know. Like, the Jedi are acting very kind of stiff and stoic, and, like, yeah, that's very prequels Jedi. That's exactly how Mace Windu acted all the time, you know. Like, yep, that's that's pretty much the direction everyone, you know, at least the Jedi Council and all the higher ups were acting. And I just really enjoyed everything that was going on here. You know, so I'm trying to give a review without getting into spoilers. I'll get into spoilers in a second. But just to say that, look, the action, obviously, we've seen those scenes over, like, the fight scenes. Those are really great. Like, the choreography is amazing. No doubt about that. And they do give a reason as to, like, why are we doing martial arts, hand-to-hand combat? And that's actually, like, kind of a pivotal plot point that they address several times in these episodes as to why we're not just whipping out the lightsabers and fighting that way. So very interesting stuff. I still have some questions about that, but I have some theories, I guess, about that as well. And just, you know, I will say, if there's any kind of negatives I really have so far, it's kind of just the fact that, you know, following a lot of, like, what a lot of streaming shows and Disney Plus stuff, Marvel stuff, also, is that it feels like a movie, you know. Like, it does feel like they could have released this all as, like, a 2 hour 45-minute movie, and it would be like a really solid movie. But because it's a show, we kind of get these abrupt endings. We're like, okay, and episode stops, you know. So if there's any kind of criticism I have, it's really just the fact that they're kind of following the episodic or not even episodic, but just the, we got this story that feels like it was not written as a TV show, as in like not every episode ends kind of where like you would have your you're kind of like your peaks and then your valleys and then like kind of like your natural ending there, you know what I'm saying, like and when you have like a story arc, it doesn't really end there. It kind of just like stops because it feels like a movie was paused and it's like, okay, we're gonna watch the next 35-40 minutes next week, and so I can see some people getting frustrated with that because like obviously we've been in the era of binging stuff for a while now, and some of these streaming services are going back to weekly releases, and you know what I mean, like we're just kind of in that weird phase now where like people got used to binging stuff for so long, so now when we have stuff like your Marvels and your Star Wars and even your House of the Dragon, which is coming out soon, and it's all going to be weekly releases, some people will just forever be bothered by that now because it's like, don't stop, let me finish the thing, so if I have any real criticism, it is just, and I guess that would be a good criticism, of the fact that I don't want it to stop because I'm like, damn it, get to the next episode, tell me what's gonna happen next. But yeah, just I guess that's pretty much it for my non-spoiler review there. I'm having a really great time. I like the characters. I like the way that the story is paced. It doesn't feel like they're dragging anything out. It also feels like they're properly sprinkling in further mystery for us to find out later. They're mentioning stuff that happened in the past while not giving too much information, but it doesn't feel like too stilted. Like some shows will have like, remember that thing that happened, and it feels like too winky towards the camera, where you're like, oh, okay, so they're gonna leave that as a lingering mystery. This felt a lot more of a natural conversation between two people who they already both know what happened in the past, so there's no reason for them to get all like, do a full dialogue about like, well, here's a giant explanation as to my backstory. It's like, you both already know that. The audience needs to know that, so we'll get a flashback eventually, but it felt natural in the way that they set these kind of mysteries up as to like what exactly happened. They're mentioning things that are proper to mention in the moment that they're talking about them years in the future. So yeah, just everything about it, the structure, the pacing, the characters, I'm fully invested. I'm really fully invested. It even has, some people might complain that it's kind of cheesy and corny at times, but like it would not feel like proper Star Wars to me if some of it was not corny. You know what I mean? Like that kind of has been in the flavor of it. I need some of my Star Wars to be cheesy and goofy and corny. Like, it's gotta be. And I feel like Leslie Headland understood that when they made this, because like, yeah, it's serious at the right times, it's cheesy and goofy at the right times, it's an action movie at the right times. Everything's really cool here. Anyways, let's get into some spoilers. We're gonna, so here we go. I assume you have watched the 2 episodes if you're watching this. Here we go, spoiler time. First, they address the twins thing immediately, like within the first episode. Like, okay, yeah, there's twins, she had a twin sister, it's the other one that's doing the killing. That was something that they kind of tried to hide in the marketing for a little while, until eventually in the marketing they started just being upfront about it and just kind of saying it, or at least like the little, the subtitles would say the different characters' names in the trailers and stuff. So they did kind of do that thing where like they tried to keep it a secret for a little while, but I don't know, maybe they caught wind that the rumors were already out there, because those rumors have been out for a while that, oh, there's twins, so I'm glad that the show did not like keep that some lingering mystery that we don't find out about until like episode 4 or something. It's like, no, we're just gonna address this. Yes, there's 2 of them, there's twins. That's what's happening, especially when you get to the premiere and you see the cast and you see like, oh wait, there's 2 twins playing the sisters when they're young. That's weird, so it would be difficult to keep that a secret. Just seeing all the evidence. So I'm glad that they addressed that right away. And also, they kind of talk about how like Osha here, who is, I guess you would call her the good one, the good twin, she was supposedly the only survivor out of her entire family because her sister set fire to their house and killed their whole family, and that's like all we get right now. Obviously we're going to see a flashback, so we're going to see more context to that, but you know, you're like, why would the sister do that? Was it an accident? Was it on purpose? You know, was the sister already like kind of evil? What happened exactly? And then you have to ask like, well, what did the Jedi do? Because that's the other thing, is that like, you know, we're kind of told that like, oh, Osha was the only one that they thought survived, and that's why Sol took her as his apprentice. Like, okay, you'll be my Padawan. You're already old, and that was like a concern for the Jedi Council, but they all agreed to take you on. So you know, you kind of have a little bit of Anakin. She was 8 and Anakin was 9, so that's the other thing, is like Anakin was still even older, and they rejected Anakin, like he's too old, you know, because I guess maybe even after Osha here, because again, she failed, or at least she quit the Jedi Order, so like maybe they have all these cases of like, yeah, people we take on that are older, they either end up bad or they end up quitting, you know, so like we gotta put a limit to this, you know, so there's that. She was younger than Anakin still, but still like only by a year, right? So, you know, and then we have the twin, who is May. Now, obviously, this is the most mysterious character, or at least the second most mysterious character that we have right now. So we know that she's hunting down the 4 Jedi that were stationed on her home planet when everything went wrong, right? And the story that we're told so far is that she started a fire that killed her whole family. However, she wants revenge on these 4 Jedi, so I'm feeling like some of the Jedi must have done something wrong, especially because when she goes to confront Master Torben, who's a guy who's just floating there meditating, and you know, he's like completely shielded by the Force, right? She couldn't even attack him. She gets this poison created by this guy, we'll talk about that guy in a second, and he just takes the poison. And you know, he seems to take it out of guilt. He's like, I'm sorry for what we did. So I'm like, what the hell did the Jedi do? This guy, you know, he took the Barash vow, which, by the way, that is, yeah, that's a thing in the High Republic books. The Barash vow is like a thing where you know, the Jedi just kind of sequesters themselves off. I think the idea is that that's what Yoda was doing on Dagobah. He just kind of like went into exile, right? You know, that's why he's like, into exile I must go. You know, he was taking a Barash vow. I think that's the idea. Anyways, so what did the Jedi do? Why was he so guilty that he's like, I'm gonna take this poison and I'm just gonna hope you forgive me? And he like just did it himself. It's like, that's fascinating to me. Like, that's the kind of stuff, like, I would say that's a twist I didn't see coming, because she spends like the whole episode trying to find ways to kill him and attack him, and it's like, he's just gonna take this poison if I give it to him, and I say like, here, you want your forgiveness? Take this poison. And he just lets himself die. It's like, what the hell? That's crazy. I love that, but also like, I'm so fascinated to find out, like, are we gonna see that the Jedi, or at least like some of them that were stationed there, did some really messed up stuff? Because Master Sol, you know, he seems to be like completely telling the truth to May as to like, or not to May, but to Osha, to like, hey, you were the only one who survived. I tried to save your sister. We couldn't save her. I saw her die, which is kind of funny. They do the whole like, I saw her die with my own eyes kind of thing. And then at the beginning, he's teaching this class of younglings where he's like, you know, don't believe your eyes. They can deceive you. So like, you know, kind of a callback to that moment when he's like, I saw her die. It's like, did you though? Did you? Or were your eyes deceiving you? So yeah, just, I think we're gonna get the flashback episode either next episode or on episode 4, at least according to some of the people who saw all the 4 episodes. It's one of those. We're gonna get the flashback episode, and I'm really excited about that one, because I suspect that some of the Jedi did some questionable things, and that's another thing that I think some people are gonna be really upset about, that the Jedi are doing like some questionable stuff. But we're dealing with essentially a bunch of Mace Windus and a bunch of Kiadumundis who were like, you know, Anakin's too old. He can't be trained. You know, the Sith can't have returned. We would have known about it. You know, like, you know, the kind of Mace Windu character who called Ahsoka a citizen. Like, yeah, thanks for your help, citizen. You know, like that kind of stuff. You know, and that's what a lot of these, you know, Vernestra Rwoh, who was a favorite in the High Republic books, but I feel like she kind of maybe turned out to be a bit of an asshole. Not like, you know, not like in a villain sense, but more of just like a, you know, she's following the way that the Jedi Masters and Jedi Council would speak of like, we do stuff by the books, we have rules for a reason, you know, don't get too attached to your former Padawans, because Sol has this reaction when he realizes that Indara got killed and that Osho was a suspect, and he's like, oh, and she's like, oh, I guess I misunderstood how connected you were to your Padawan. You know, and then like even his current Padawan's like, why are you so connected to your old Padawan? Like, isn't, you know, nostalgia, attachment, like, doesn't that lead to things? You know, like, isn't that, and you know, again, Yoda's whole like attachment and you know, fear and all that stuff, right? So we're just, it's I really love that we're dealing with, you know, this is the prequel era Jedi, or even prequel era Jedi, you know, just the High Republic is still like, we're fully in belief of the whole, like, you know, no attachments thing, you know, and just because remember, when we see the prequel movies, we're following Qui-Gon at first, who, you know, openly is defiant of the council. He's not doing what Mace Windu and Yoda are telling him to do. He's just kind of like trying to do his own thing, right? Well, we're seeing a renegade basically, and then we follow Obi-Wan and Anakin. Obi-Wan tries to do things by the book and do the right thing. Anakin obviously is Anakin, right? He's he's the wild card. So just what the Jedi Council should be in this moment are Mace Windu and Yoda and Ki-Adi-Mundi. Like, those are what all the Jedi mostly should be like, you know, even the Padawans and the, you know, like, not the younglings, but, you know, like, that should be kind of the standard of what they're trying to be. And so we have Master Sol, who's kind of taken on the Qui-Gon role, kind of, you know, he's not openly defiant of the council, although he is a little bit. He's kind of like, look, we don't have time to talk about this, we know where she's going next, you know. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling on, but basically my point is, I really like the way that this show is I like the way that this show is showing the Jedi, you know, and the order and their rules, and how, you know, their strict dogma kind of eventually, of course, led to their downfall, right? And I love that, like, they're not shying away from that fact, you know. And some people are going to be upset by that. Some people really, I don't know why. Maybe they have like a different interpretation of the prequels, and they don't like the idea that the Jedi dogma was too strict or something. They think like, no, the Jedi were good guys and they were right and they didn't do anything wrong. It's like, I don't know. You might want to watch the prequels again. And I feel like the prequels were trying to show you how this all went wrong. But anyways, I really appreciate that. And yeah, let's talk about the poison guy, Kamir. I have the cast list up on my phone here. I just watched the show. I don't have all the cast name memorized. So Kamir with a Q. So this is again another part of the mystery of May here, right? Because he seems to be fully aware of like the Jedi that she has to kill, and whoever this mysterious Sith master that she has is, and even she seems to be under some sort of initiation. That seems to be the word that I would use for this. This is her test. This is her initiation to be either an actual Sith apprentice to this guy, or to be considered a true acolyte, or I don't know exactly. I'm sure we'll get answers, but like, this is her test, because she's told to try to kill without using a weapon. And that's why, you know, when she approaches Master Indira, who, you know, as I predicted, did indeed end up dying in this opening scene. But it was really cool. Like, it made sense the way she died, but it was, yeah, I was like, yeah, she's gonna die based on the trailers. Anyways, every time she confronts a Jedi, she's like, oh, you attack me with all your strength. And she's like, she only uses martial arts, and she tries not to use weapons until she pulls out these knives. And, you know, it's very interesting as to like what her rules are exactly. Like, she has to kill all these Jedi, and I might need to watch the scene again. She has to kill 4 Jedi and kill at least one of them without a weapon, and then they said he will be pleased. So like, this poisoner, this guy who makes the poison for her and whatever, I don't know what else he does, if he just like supplies her with weapons, and I don't know what else. But he seems to be fully in on the plan and know everything. And he ends up getting caught by the Jedi, and he's like, and he, of course, he pretends to not know everything that he clearly knew in the scene before that. And he's like, oh, well, hey, she'll be back here. You can meet her, and they just kind of like let him go while they set this trap for her, and she ends up escaping. And there's an interesting moment when she has escaped from the Jedi. She returns to the shop, and she tries to pull a knife on this guy, right? Because like, oh, you sold me out to the Jedi, right? And then he ends up being able to subdue her with the knife. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because up until this point, he's only been displayed as this guy who, you know, he kind of makes some poisons, he kind of knows like what's going on with whoever the Sith Master is, but he doesn't seem to care that much about like being a Sith or using the Force. Like he's been giving no indication that he is a warrior of any kind. And yet he was able to subdue her when she tried to attack him with the knife. And that had me thinking, I was like, wait a minute, what if this guy is the Sith in the mask? You know what I mean? Because Master Soul tries to read May's mind, and he's like, oh, you couldn't even tell me who it is if you wanted to. He's hidden his identity even from you. And I'm like, how much of a Sith move would it be if he's using his alter ego as this guy who just kind of, I guess, supplies weapons to people? I don't know. And it's actually him the whole time. He is the Sith, because he even tries to teach her the lesson, like, oh, the Jedi believe this, the Jedi believe that, they all have a weakness, you know. And he even says like, peace is a lie, right? And then she's like, yeah, I know, peace is a lie. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this her way of teaching her the Sith ways without her even realizing what's happening? Because obviously that was part of the Sith code, the whole peace is a lie thing, right? So I'm like, how much would it be if this Khmer guy, how crazy would it be if he is the masked Sith? I think that's what's happening, you know, because he's quoting Sith stuff, he knows the full plan already, and he does not seem threatened by her at all. Like, she pulls a knife on him, he's like, okay, and like subdues her really easily. I'm like, wait a minute, he's kind of acting like a goofball who's like, you know, he surrenders to the Jedi, and he's like, oh wait, I'll tell you what you want to know, I'm just a guy who does weapon stuff, you know, like I'll help you set the trap and everything, not a big deal, okay, let me go, don't hurt me, you know. I'm like, I think he's pulling a Palpatine right now. I think this is all an act. This is the guy, you know. So that's my major prediction right now for this show. I'm gonna keep an extra close eye on Khmer here with a Q. Khmer? Am I saying it right? I don't know. Anyways, keep an extra close eye on this guy. I think he's our masked Sith, you know, and I think he's on this journey with her, and he's sending her out to go do all the dirty work while he's like, hey, so how'd it go? What's going on? And by the way, he immediately knew that Osha was not May. He's like, oh, hey, you look just like her. Like, he was messing with her, right? So like, I don't know. This Khmer guy, I'm very suspicious of this guy. I think I'm right. Like, this is my prediction, and I'm like very solid on this. I think he's doing a Palpatine on us all right now. He's acting all innocent and like kind of like, oh, I'm just a bumbling little sidekick, I just make some poison, not a big deal here. And then he's like, and then he puts on a mask and he's like, the Jedi live in a dream, you know. Like, that's him. That's totally him. Anyways, that's my theory. But yeah, I am just fully invested in this show, just 2 episodes in. I'm really happy. I think that this is a stronger opening than Obi-Wan or Boba Fett, or, you know, like a lot of the past series openings, like their first couple episodes that they release. I think this is a much stronger opening, both in the acting and the story and even the production value. Like, when they're walking around these ships, I'm like, somehow these ships look better. And I don't know if it's just more of an actual set than, you know, stuff like Obi-Wan had. But yeah, just, I'm fully in, guys. I don't know about you, but I'm invested. I have theories, I have thoughts, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't bought Star Wars action figures in a while because, you know, I'm kind of running out of space, to be honest. But I'm gonna go out and buy some of these action figures because, like, I'm fully invested here. I'm totally in. Acolyte. I'm gonna go buy a t-shirt. I'm gonna like go put up a poster in the background. I'm gonna get the hat, the whole thing, all the merch. Acolyte. I'm in. Let's do it. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the Acolyte. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your theories. Let me know your favorite character. Let me know your thoughts about this Khmer guy, because like I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. Yeah, just let me know what you guys think. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye.